I stood at the back of the church, watching my little sister walk down the aisle in a white dress. The same aisle I had walked down 8 years ago. The same flowers, the same music. But this time, she was marrying my ex-husband. My hands were shaking. I hid them in the folds of my dress, a simple navy blue thing I bought the night before because I couldn't bear to think about this day. Everyone turned to look at Emma. She looked beautiful, glowing, happy. And at the end of that aisle, waiting for her with tears in his eyes, was David. My David. No, not mine anymore. I told myself I could do this. I told myself I was strong enough. But the moment I saw him look at her the way he used to look at me, something inside my chest cracked wide open. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My mother squeezed my hand and whispered, "I'm so proud of you for coming. This takes real maturity." Maturity. That's what they all thought this was. They thought I was over him. They thought I had moved on. They thought the divorce was mutual, clean, just two people who fell out of love. They had no idea. No one knew the real reason I left David. Not my mother, not my father, not even Emma. Well, that's not entirely true. Emma knew part of it. I told her something once, in a moment of weakness, when the pain was too much to carry alone. I told her my deepest secret, and I trusted her. I thought she would protect it, protect me. But here we are. David said his vows. His voice cracked when he promised to love her forever, to build a family with her, to never let her go. I dug my nails into my palms so hard I thought I'd draw blood. A family. The word felt like a knife twisting in my gut. That's all he ever wanted. A family, children, a house full of noise and love and tiny hands reaching for him. And I couldn't give him that. So I let him go. I set him free. I lied to his face and told him I didn't love him anymore, that I wanted different things, that we weren't meant to be. I watched him fall apart. I watched him beg me to stay. And I still walked away. Because I loved him too much to let him waste his life on someone broken like me, but I never thought he'd end up here, with her, with my sister. The priest said, "You may kiss the bride," and I had to look away. I heard the applause. I heard the cheers. I felt my mother crying happy tears beside me, and I felt something inside me die just a little bit more. At the reception, I smiled. I hugged Emma. I shook David's hand and congratulated them both. I played my part perfectly, the supportive ex-wife, the mature older sister. But inside, I was screaming. Then someone handed me a microphone. "Sarah, you're the sister of the bride. Say a few words." Everyone was looking at me, waiting, smiling, expecting something sweet and graceful. I looked at Emma. I looked at David. And I thought about the last 2 years of silence, of carrying this weight alone, of watching them fall in love on the bones of my broken heart. And I realized I was done being quiet. I was done pretending. I was done protecting people who never protected me. I took the microphone. My hand stopped shaking. And I began to speak. If you've ever had to smile through your own heartbreak, like this video, because you need to know you're not alone in this pain, I need to take you back. Back to when everything was perfect. Back to when I believed in forever. I met David when I was 23 years old. I was working at a small bookstore downtown, and he came in every Saturday morning looking for old poetry books. He had this smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. The third Saturday, he asked me out for coffee. The fourth Saturday, he kissed me in the rain outside that same bookstore. We got married 2 years later. It was a small ceremony, intimate, just family and close friends. I wore my grandmother's veil. David cried when I walked down the aisle. He told me later that he knew, in that exact moment, that his life had just begun. I believed him. For 6 years, we were happy. Really happy. We had this tiny apartment with a balcony where we'd drink wine and talk for hours. David would read me poetry. I'd fall asleep on his chest listening to his heartbeat. We'd make plans, big plans. We wanted 3 kids. Maybe 4, a house with a backyard, A dog named Charlie, Sunday pancakes, all of it. I wanted to give him all of it. But then I started noticing things. Small things at first. My periods became irregular, then painful. Then they barely came at all. I ignored it for months, told myself it was stress, that I was working too much. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. David started talking about kids more often. He'd see a baby at the grocery store and get this look in his eyes, soft and full of hope. He'd say, "Soon, Sarah, soon that'll be us." And every time he said it, I felt this knot in my stomach getting tighter and tighter. I finally went to the doctor. Alone. I didn't tell David because I didn't want him to worry. I thought it would be something simple, something fixable. Maybe I just needed vitamins or less stress or more sleep. I was so wrong. The doctor was kind, too kind. That's how I knew it was bad before she even said the words. She sat across from me in that cold office with its white walls and fake plants. And she said, "Sarah, I'm so sorry. But the tests show that you have premature ovarian failure. Your chances of conceiving naturally are extremely low, almost impossible." I heard the words, but they didn't feel real. They felt like they were happening to someone else. I asked her to repeat it. She did. I asked if there were treatments. She listed options, all of them expensive, all of them with low success rates. IVF, donor eggs, adoption. But the message was clear. My body couldn't do the one thing David wanted most in this world. I couldn't give him children. I sat in my car in that parking lot for 2 hours. I didn't cry. I just stared at the steering wheel, feeling like my entire future had just been erased. Everything we'd planned, everything we'd dreamed about, gone. When I got home, David was cooking dinner. He smiled when I walked in, kissed my forehead, asked me how my day was. I lied. I said it was fine. I ate the pasta he made even though I couldn't taste anything. I went to bed early and pretended to be asleep when he came to hold me. That night, I made a decision. A terrible, painful, impossible decision. I decided that I loved David too much to trap him in a childless marriage. He deserved to be a father. He deserved everything he'd ever dreamed of, and I couldn't give him that. So I would set him free, even if it destroyed me, even if I had to lie, even if I had to become the villain in our story. I would let him go. Tell me in the comments. Have you ever loved someone so much you had to let them go? Because I need to know I'm not crazy for what I did next. For 3 weeks, I carried that secret like a stone in my chest. I'd wake up next to David and feel the weight of it crushing me. Every time he touched me, every time he smiled at me, every time he talked about our future, I wanted to scream the truth. But I couldn't. Because if I told him, he'd stay. And I couldn't let him waste his life on me. I started building walls. Small ones at first. I'd come home from work and say I was tired. I'd turn away when he tried to kiss me. I stopped laughing at his jokes. I stopped asking about his day. I watched the confusion grow in his eyes and it killed me, but I kept going. I had to make him believe I didn't love him anymore. It was the only way. One night he sat me down at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten 1,000 meals together, where we'd planned our whole lives. He took my hands in his and said, "Sarah, what's happening to us? Talk to me, please." I looked into his eyes, those beautiful brown eyes that had looked at me with so much love for 6 years, and I lied. I lied better than I've ever lied in my life. "I don't think I love you anymore." The words came out flat, cold. I watched them hit him like a physical blow. His face went pale. His hands started shaking. "What? Sarah, what are you talking about? Is there someone else?" "No, there's no one else. I don't feel the same way anymore. I've been thinking about this for a while. I want different things now." "Different things? What different things?" "Sarah, we've been planning our whole future together. The house, the kids, everything. What changed?" "The kids." Of course he mentioned the kids. The knife twisted deeper. "I changed, David. I don't want those things anymore. I don't want this." He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. He was crying now, and I'd never seen him cry like that. Not even at his father's funeral. You don't want this? You don't want us? Sarah, I don't believe you. This isn't you. Something's wrong. Please, just tell me what's really going on. I wanted to tell him. God, I wanted to tell him so badly. But I couldn't. If I told him the truth, he'd say it didn't matter. He'd say we could adopt, that we'd figure it out together. And then 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, he'd look at me with resentment. He'd see his friends with their kids and feel that emptiness. And he'd realize he'd settled. He'd realize I'd stolen his dream from him. I couldn't do that to him. So I kept lying. I want a divorce, David. Those 4 words hung in the air like poison. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Like I'd become a stranger right in front of him. You want a divorce? Just like that? After 8 years together? Sarah, we can fix this. Whatever it is, we can fix it. We can go to counseling. I don't want to fix it. I want out. He broke then. Completely. He fell to his knees on our kitchen floor and begged me to stay. He begged me to tell him what he did wrong, what he could change, how he could make me love him again. He promised me everything. He said he'd do anything, be anything, if I'd just stay. And I stood there, frozen, watching the man I loved more than life itself fall apart because of me, because of my lies, because of my broken body. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did he. I heard him crying in the living room until dawn. The next morning, he was gone. He packed a bag and went to his brother's place. 3 days later, he texted me asking if I was serious. I said yes. 2 months after that, we signed the divorce papers. I didn't cry at the lawyer's office. I didn't cry when he moved out completely. I didn't cry when I sold our apartment. I held it all in because I had to be strong. I had to convince everyone that this was what I wanted. But at night, alone in my new apartment, I cried until I couldn't breathe. I cried for the future we'd never have. I cried for the man I'd destroyed. I cried for the family that would never exist. And in my weakest moment, I called my sister Emma. I needed someone to know, someone to tell me I wasn't a monster. That was my biggest mistake. If you felt that heartbreak, like this video, because what comes next will break you even more. Emma came over that same night. She brought wine and Chinese food, the same things we used to share during our girls' nights when we were younger. She sat on my couch, looked at me with those worried eyes and said, "Sarah, you sounded terrible on the phone. What's going on? Everyone's so confused about the divorce. Mom's worried sick. And David? He looks destroyed." I poured myself a large glass of wine. Then another. I needed the courage. I needed to tell someone before this secret ate me alive from the inside out. Emma, I need to tell you something, and you can't tell anyone. Not Mom, not Dad, not anyone. Promise me. She grabbed my hand. I promise. Sarah, you're scaring me. What is it? And then I told her everything. About the doctor's appointment. About the diagnosis. About how I couldn't have children. About how David wanted to be a father more than anything in the world. About how I loved him too much to trap him in a childless marriage. About how I lied to him. Made him think I didn't love him anymore. So he could be free to find someone who could give him everything I couldn't. By the time I finished, I was sobbing. Ugly crying. The kind where you can't catch your breath and your whole body shakes. Emma held me. She stroked my hair like she did when we were kids and I'd scraped my knee. She whispered, "Sarah, oh my God, Sarah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I destroyed him, Emma. Did you see his face at the lawyer's office? He looked at me like I was a stranger. Like I was someone cruel and heartless. And maybe I am. Maybe I am a monster for doing this to him. You're not a monster. You're hurting. You made a choice because you love him. That doesn't make you a monster. Then why do I feel like one? She stayed with me that night. We talked for hours. She told me I should have been honest with David, that he deserved to know the truth, that maybe he would have chosen me anyway. But I couldn't accept that. I couldn't risk him staying out of obligation, out of pity. Before she left the next morning, she hugged me tight and said, "Your secret is safe with me. I won't tell anyone. And Sarah, you're going to get through this. I promise. You're the strongest person I know." I believed her. I trusted her with the most painful truth of my life. She was my little sister, my best friend, the person who knew me better than anyone. I thought she'd protect me. For the next 6 months, I tried to rebuild my life. I threw myself into work. I avoided family gatherings because I couldn't face David's name being mentioned. I went to therapy, but I couldn't tell my therapist the real reason for the divorce because I'd promised myself I'd take that secret to the grave. Emma checked on me regularly. She'd text me every few days asking how I was doing. She'd invite me to lunch. She seemed genuinely concerned about my well-being. It felt good to have her support. It felt like maybe I wasn't completely alone in this nightmare. Then one day, about 7 months after the divorce, Emma called me. Her voice sounded strange, nervous. "Sarah, I need to tell you something. And I don't know how you're going to react, but I need to be honest with you." My stomach dropped. I knew. Somehow, in that moment, I already knew what she was going to say. "I've been spending time with David." The room started spinning. I sat down on my bed because my legs wouldn't hold me anymore. "What do you mean spending time with David?" "He was so broken after the divorce. He reached out to me a few months ago asking about you, wanting to know if you were okay, if there was any chance you'd change your mind. I met him for coffee to talk. And then we met again. And again. Sarah, we've been talking a lot. He's been leaning on me, and I've been trying to help him heal." Help him heal. Those words felt like acid in my veins. "Emma, please tell me you're not—" "I think I have feelings for him, Sarah. I didn't mean for this to happen. I swear I didn't. But he's amazing, and he's vulnerable, and we just connected." She knew. She knew why I left him. She knew about my infertility. She knew about my sacrifice. And still, she went after him. My baby sister was stealing my husband. And the worst part? I couldn't even stop her. Because if I did, I'd have to tell David the truth. And I'd already burned that bridge to ashes. Follow this story. Because what my sister did next made me realize some betrayals come from the people you trust most. I couldn't speak. I sat there holding the phone, listening to Emma's breathing on the other end, and I felt like the world had stopped spinning. My sister, my baby sister who I'd protected my whole life, who I'd taught to ride a bike, who I'd helped with her homework, who I'd held when her first boyfriend broke her heart, that sister was now telling me she had feelings for my ex-husband. The ex-husband I was still in love with. The ex-husband I'd sacrificed everything for. "Sarah, are you still there? Please say something." I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her she was a traitor. I wanted to tell her how dare she go after David when she knew the truth. She knew I didn't stop loving him. She knew I left him to set him free, not to hand him over to her on a silver platter. But I couldn't say any of that. Because if I did, she'd know I still loved him. She'd know I was dying inside. And some sick part of me still wanted to protect my sacrifice. I'd already destroyed my marriage to give David a chance at happiness. What right did I have to stand in his way now? "I'm here," I finally whispered. "Are you angry?" Was I angry? I was devastated. I was shattered. I was bleeding out from a wound no one could see. But angry? "No, Emma, I'm not angry. David and I are divorced. He's free to be with whoever he wants. And so are you." The lie tasted like poison in my mouth. "Oh my God, Sarah, thank you. Thank you so much. I was so scared you'd hate me. I know this is weird, but I really think David and I could be good together. He's such a good man, and he deserves to be happy after everything he's been through." Everything he's been through. As if I hadn't been through it too. As if I wasn't the one who'd ripped my own heart out to give him a future. Yeah, he deserves to be happy. I love you, Sarah. You're the best sister anyone could ask for. I hung up and threw my phone across the room. Then I collapsed on my bedroom floor and screamed into my hands until my throat was raw. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. This was some cruel nightmare, and I'd wake up any second. But I didn't wake up. Over the next few months, I watched from a distance as Emma and David's relationship grew. She'd post pictures on social media, them at dinner, them at the movies, them hiking the same trails David and I used to hike. She was living my life. She was with my husband, and everyone thought it was beautiful. "It's so sweet that David found love again," my mother said one day over the phone. "And with Emma, it's like he's still part of the family. Isn't that wonderful?" Wonderful. That's what she called it. I stopped going to family dinners. I made excuses, work, headaches, prior commitments, anything to avoid seeing them together. But my mother kept pushing. "Sarah, you need to move on. You can't avoid your sister forever just because she's dating your ex. You're the one who left him, remember?" Yes, I remembered. How could I forget? I was reminded every single day that I'd done this to myself. Then, 1 year after my divorce, I received a text from Emma. My hands were shaking when I opened it. "Can we meet for coffee? I have something important to tell you." I knew what it was before I even showed up. I knew from the way she was glowing when I walked into the cafe. I knew from the way she couldn't stop smiling. "Sarah, I'm engaged. David proposed last night." The coffee shop was spinning. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself. Engaged. David was engaged. To my sister. The man I'd loved for 8 years. The man I'd destroyed myself for. The man I still dreamed about every single night. He was marrying Emma. "Congratulations," I heard myself say. My voice sounded far away, like it belonged to someone else. "I want you to be my maid of honor." I almost laughed. It was so absurd. So cruel. Did she really think I could stand next to her while she married David? Did she really think I could smile and celebrate while my heart was being ripped apart all over again? "Emma, I don't think that's a good idea." Her face fell. "Why not?" "Sarah, you said you were okay with this. You said David and I have your blessing." "I said he's free to be with whoever he wants. That doesn't mean I want to be in the wedding party." "But you're my sister." "My only sister. I need you there. Please, Sarah. This would mean everything to me." I looked at her sitting across from me, so happy, so excited, so completely oblivious to the pain she was causing me. Or maybe she wasn't oblivious. Maybe she just didn't care. Maybe she'd convinced herself that because I left David, I had no right to hurt about this, and maybe she was right. "I'll come to the wedding," I said quietly. "But I can't be your maid of honor. I just can't." She looked disappointed, but she nodded. "Okay, I understand. As long as you're there, that's what matters." 6 months later, the wedding invitation arrived in my mailbox. Cream-colored cardstock with gold lettering. Emma and David, finally becoming one. I held that invitation and cried for an hour, but I was going to go. I was going to put on a dress, sit in that church, and watch my sister marry the love of my life. Because that's what I'd started when I lied to David, and now I had to see it through to the end. Tell me in the comments, could you have gone to that wedding? Because I almost didn't survive it. The night before the wedding, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror at 2 a.m, practicing how to smile, how to look happy, how to look like someone who'd moved on. I tried a dozen different versions of the same fake expression until my face hurt. None of them looked real. I'd barely slept in weeks. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw David. Sometimes he was the David who'd cried on our kitchen floor, begging me not to leave. Sometimes he was the David from our wedding day, promising to love me forever. And sometimes he was the David I didn't know anymore, the one who'd fallen in love with my sister. That last version hurt the most. I'd bought the navy blue dress on impulse the day before, mostly because I couldn't bring myself to plan for this day. Every time I thought about it, my chest would tighten and I'd feel like I couldn't breathe. The dress was simple, modest, the kind of thing that wouldn't draw attention. I wanted to disappear into the background. I wanted to be invisible. The morning of the wedding, my mother called me 3 times to make sure I was coming. "Sarah, please. I know this is hard for you, but Emma needs you there. She's your sister. Family shows up for each other." Family shows up for each other. The irony wasn't lost on me. I drove to the church in silence, no music. Just the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. When I pulled into the parking lot, I sat in my car for 20 minutes, gripping the steering wheel, trying to convince myself I could do this. I'd survived the divorce. I'd survived watching them fall in love. I could survive one day, just one day. I was wrong. The moment I walked into that church and saw the flowers, the same white roses David and I had at our wedding, something inside me broke. I felt like I was at a funeral. My funeral. The death of everything I'd ever wanted. My mother found me and immediately linked her arm through mine. "You look beautiful, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you for being here. This takes incredible strength." Strength. Everyone kept using that word, but I didn't feel strong. I felt like I was being held together by thin thread, and any second I was going to completely unravel. I took my seat near the back. I wanted an escape route. I needed to know I could leave if it became too much. But more family members kept arriving, filling in the rows, trapping me there. Cousins, aunts, uncles, all of them smiling, excited, whispering about how romantic it was that David was marrying Emma, how it was meant to be. Then the music started. My breath caught in my throat. It was the same song, the same wedding march David and I had used. Was this Emma's idea of a tribute? Or was it just a cruel coincidence? Either way, it felt like a knife twisting in an old wound. The doors opened, and there she was. Emma. In a white dress that was somehow even more beautiful than mine had been. Her face was radiant, glowing with happiness. And she was carrying the same type of bouquet I'd carried. White roses and baby's breath. I dug my nails into my palms so hard I thought I'd draw blood. She walked down that aisle, and I watched every single step. I watched my father's proud smile as he walked her toward the altar. I watched the guests turning in their seats, admiring her. And then I watched David. His face when he saw her was everything I remembered from our wedding day. That look of complete awe. That look that said, "This is the moment my life begins." Tears streaming down his face. His hand over his heart. He'd looked at me like that once. Now he was looking at her. The ceremony began, and I tried to focus on anything else. The stained glass windows, the flowers, the pattern on the carpet. But I kept hearing fragments of their vows. David's voice cracking as he promised to love her forever. Emma's soft laugh when he stumbled over his words. The priest talking about soulmates and destiny and how some people are meant to find each other. I wanted to stand up and scream, "He was mine first! He was supposed to be mine forever!" But I stayed silent, frozen in that pew, dying quietly while everyone around me celebrated. Then came the worst part. "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." I had to look away. I couldn't watch that. I couldn't watch David kiss my sister the way he used to kiss me. I stared at my hands, at the nail marks I'd left in my palms, and I counted the seconds until it was over. The church erupted in applause. People were standing, cheering, crying happy tears. My mother was sobbing next to me, reaching over to squeeze my hand. "Isn't this beautiful?" she whispered. Beautiful. That word again. I managed to nod. I managed to clap. I managed to stand when they walked back down the aisle as husband and wife. Emma caught my eye as she passed, and she smiled at me. A big, genuine, grateful smile, like she was thanking me for being there, for supporting her, for giving her my blessing to marry the man I still loved. I smiled back. Another lie. Another performance. The reception was at a country club about 20 minutes away. I considered leaving, just getting in my car and driving home and never looking back. But something kept me there. Maybe it was obligation. Maybe it was some twisted need to punish myself. Or maybe I just needed to see this through to the bitter end. I wish I'd left when I had the chance. Like this video if you've ever felt pain this deep. Because what happened at the reception changed everything. The reception was exactly what I expected. Elegant, perfect. Everything Emma had always dreamed of. Round tables with white tablecloths and gold centerpieces, string lights hanging from the ceiling like stars, a live band playing soft jazz. It looked like something out of a magazine. I found my assigned seat at a table in the back, far from the head table where Emma and David sat like royalty. I was grateful for the distance. At least I wouldn't have to watch them all night. At least I could suffer quietly in my corner. But everyone at my table wanted to talk about them. They make such a beautiful couple, don't they? I never would have imagined David and Emma together, but now I can't see them with anyone else. It's so wonderful that Sarah is okay with all this. Not every woman would be mature enough to handle her ex marrying her sister. I nodded. I smiled. I agreed with everything they said. I played my part perfectly. The supportive ex-wife. The understanding sister. But inside, I was screaming. I was clawing at the walls of this prison I'd built for myself. Dinner was served. I pushed food around my plate, pretending to eat. My stomach was in knots. Every few minutes, I'd glance toward the head table and see David laughing at something Emma said. See him touching her hand. See him looking at her like she was his entire world. I excused myself and went to the bathroom. I locked myself in a stall and let myself break down for just 60 seconds. Silent tears. Shaking hands pressed against my mouth so no one would hear me sob. Then I washed my face, fixed my makeup, and went back out there. I could do this. Just a few more hours. Then I could go home and fall apart in private. But then the toast started. David's best man went first. He told funny stories about their college days. Everyone laughed. Then Emma's best friend spoke, talking about how Emma had always dreamed of finding a love like this. How she'd always wanted to be a wife and a mother. How David was her perfect match. A mother. The word hit me like a bullet. Then my mother stood up. She wasn't scheduled to give a toast, but she grabbed a microphone anyway. I just want to say how grateful I am to be here tonight, watching my youngest daughter marry such an incredible man. David, you've been through so much, and I'm so happy you found your way to Emma. You two are going to have the most beautiful life together, and I can't wait to be a grandmother to your children. Children. There it was again. The thing I couldn't give him. The reason I'd left. The reason I was sitting here watching someone else live my life. I felt the walls closing in. My breathing was getting faster. I needed air. I needed to get out of here. But then someone called my name. Sarah, where's Sarah? Come on, you have to say something. You're the bride's sister. No. I couldn't do this. I couldn't stand up there and give a speech about how happy I was for them. I couldn't lie anymore. Not like this. Not in front of everyone. But people were looking at me, waiting, expecting. My mother was gesturing for me to stand up. Emma was smiling at me from the head table, her eyes bright and expectant. I stood up on shaking legs. Someone handed me a microphone. The room went quiet. 100 faces turned toward me, all of them smiling, all of them waiting to hear me say something sweet and supportive. I looked at Emma, at her white dress, at her perfect smile, at the way she held David's hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. Then I looked at David. And for the first time since the divorce, his eyes met mine, really met mine. And in that split second, I saw something there. Confusion. Pain. A question he'd been asking for 2 years. Why did you leave me? He deserved to know. After everything, he deserved the truth. And suddenly I was done protecting everyone else. I was done sacrificing myself. I was done carrying this weight alone. If I was going to burn, I was taking the lies down with me. I raised the microphone to my lips. My hand wasn't shaking anymore. My voice was steady, clear. I have something to say, I began. And I need everyone to hear this, especially David. The room was completely silent now. Emma's smile faltered. My mother's face went pale. But I didn't stop. 2 years ago, I told David I didn't love him anymore. I told him I wanted a divorce. I told him I wanted different things. And everyone believed me. David believed me. But I lied. I heard gasps around the room. I saw Emma starting to stand up, but David put his hand on her arm, stopping her. His eyes were locked on mine now, wide with shock. I lied because I found out I couldn't have children. And I knew how badly David wanted to be a father. I loved him so much that I couldn't bear the thought of him staying with me out of obligation, watching his dreams die because of my broken body. So I set him free. I destroyed our marriage so he could have the family he deserved. The silence was deafening now. David's face had gone completely white. Emma was shaking her head, her mouth open in horror. And Emma knew. I told her my secret. I trusted her with my pain, and she took that information and went after my husband anyway. Follow my story, because what I said next made the whole room explode. Emma shot up from her seat, her face flushed red. "Sarah, stop, that's not fair, that's not how it happened." But I wasn't stopping. Not now. Not after 2 years of silence. "Isn't it, Emma? You called me 7 months after my divorce and told me you had feelings for David. You told me you'd been meeting him for coffee, that you were helping him heal. But you left out the part where I'd cried in your arms and told you I was still in love with him. You left out the part where you knew exactly why I left him." The room erupted. People were whispering, gasping, looking back and forth between me and Emma like they were watching a car crash. My mother stood up, her face a mixture of shock and anger. "Sarah, this is your sister's wedding. How could you—" "How could I what, Mom? Tell the truth? Finally be honest about what really happened? I've been quiet for 2 years. I've smiled through the pain. I've pretended to be okay while my sister took everything from me. But I'm done. I'm done pretending." David stood up slowly. His voice was barely above a whisper, but in the dead silence of the room, everyone heard him. "You couldn't have children? That's why you left?" I turned to face him fully. Tears were streaming down my face now, but I didn't care anymore. "Yes. The doctor told me I had premature ovarian failure, that my chances of getting pregnant naturally were almost impossible. And I knew how much you wanted kids, David. I knew it was your biggest dream. So I lied to you. I made you think I didn't love you anymore so you could go find someone who could give you everything I couldn't." His eyes were filled with tears now, too. His voice cracked. "Sarah, that wasn't your decision to make alone. We could have figured it out together. We could have adopted, done IVF, anything. I loved you. I would have chosen you over anything else. But you shouldn't have had to choose. I deserved the truth." His voice boomed through the room now, raw with pain and anger. "You destroyed me, Sarah. You looked me in the eyes and told me you didn't love me anymore. Do you have any idea what that did to me? I spent months trying to figure out what I did wrong. I blamed myself. I thought I'd failed you somehow. And all this time, you were lying?" I couldn't speak. The pain in his voice was unbearable. This was why I'd kept the secret. This was exactly what I'd been trying to avoid. His pain, his anger, his realization that I'd stolen his choice from him. Emma grabbed David's arm. "David, please, let's just go. Let's get out of here. This is—" He pulled his arm away from her. "Did you know?" His voice was cold now, hard. "Emma, did you know why Sarah really left me?" Emma's face went pale. She looked at me, then at David, then back at me. David, it's not that simple," Sarah told me in confidence. "I couldn't betray her trust by—" "So you did know?" He took a step back from her like she'd burned him. "You knew she left me because she thought she couldn't give me children. You knew she was sacrificing herself. And you still pursued me? You were broken. You needed someone. I was there for you when she wasn't. You were there for me because you wanted me. You used my pain to get close to me." His voice was shaking now, a mixture of rage and devastation. "My God, Emma, what kind of person does that?" "The kind of person who actually stays," Emma shouted back, tears running down her face now too. "I stayed, David. I didn't run away like Sarah did. I didn't lie to you. I was honest about my feelings." "You were honest." I heard myself laugh, a bitter, broken sound. "You were honest? Emma, you told me you'd keep my secret safe. You told me you understood why I did what I did. And then you swooped in the moment I was gone and took him for yourself. You knew I was still in love with him. You knew I was dying inside. And you didn't care." My mother's voice cut through the chaos. "Enough! All of you, enough! This is a wedding, for God's sake. Sarah, I think you should leave." "No." David's voice was firm now. Sarah stays. Emma and I need to talk. Alone. Emma grabbed his hand desperately. David, please. We just got married. This is our wedding day. Don't let her ruin this. She's just jealous. She's trying to destroy what we have because she can't stand to see us happy. He looked down at their joined hands, at the wedding rings they'd just exchanged less than 2 hours ago. Then he slowly pulled his hand away from hers. Emma, you knew. You knew the truth, and you kept it from me. You let me believe Sarah had just stopped loving me. You let me think I wasn't enough for her. And all this time, she left because she loved me too much. And what about me? Emma's voice was breaking now, desperate. What about how much I love you? Doesn't that matter? David, I'm your wife now. We just got married. I'm pregnant. The room went completely still. Those last 2 words hung in the air like a bomb. Pregnant. Emma was pregnant. I felt the floor drop out from under me. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because this betrayal goes deeper than anyone could imagine. Pregnant. The word echoed in my head like a gunshot. Emma was pregnant. She was going to have David's baby. The baby I couldn't give him. The family I'd destroyed myself trying to give him a chance to have. This was why I'd left. This exact moment. This exact scenario. Except I'd imagined I'd be happy for him by now. I'd imagined I'd have moved on, that enough time would have passed and the pain would have dulled to something manageable. I was so wrong. My legs gave out. I grabbed the back of a chair to keep from falling. Someone gasped. I think it was my mother. But I couldn't focus on anything except Emma's hand on her stomach, protective and proud, even now, even in the middle of this nightmare. You're pregnant? David's voice was hollow, empty, like the words didn't make sense to him. 3 months. I was going to announce it tonight after the toasts. I wanted it to be a surprise. Emma's voice was pleading now, desperate. David, we're having a baby. We're starting our family. Isn't that what you always wanted? He stood there, staring at her, and I watched something break inside him. His face crumpled. He put his hand over his mouth, and for a moment, I thought he was going to be sick. A baby, he whispered. You're having my baby. Yes, our baby. David, this is supposed to be happy news. We're going to be parents. You're going to be a father. And there it was, the thing I couldn't give him, standing right in front of him in a white wedding dress, carrying his child. Emma had won. She had everything I'd sacrificed myself to give him, everything I'd thought I was setting him free to find. But looking at David's face, I didn't see happiness. I didn't see joy. I saw a man who'd just realized that his entire life had been built on lies, that the woman he'd mourned for 2 years had left him out of love, not indifference, and that the woman he'd just married had known the truth all along. How long have you known? David asked quietly. About the pregnancy? How long? I found out 2 weeks ago. Before the wedding. Yes, before the wedding. But David, that doesn't change anything. We love each other. We're married now. We're having a baby together. This is our life. Our life. He laughed, but it was a terrible sound. Broken. Emma, our entire relationship was built on a lie. You knew why Sarah left me. You knew she sacrificed everything because she loved me, and you used that information to get close to me. You let me believe I wasn't good enough for her when the truth was she loved me too much. That's not fair. I fell in love with you. Real love. Not the kind of love that makes you lie and run away. She didn't run away. David's voice cracked. She let me go because she thought it was the right thing to do. And you took advantage of that. Emma's face hardened. I gave you everything she couldn't, David. I'm here. I stayed. I'm carrying your child. That's more than she ever did for you. The cruelty of those words hit me like a physical blow. I felt my knees buckle again, but this time I didn't try to catch myself. I just sank into the chair behind me, my whole body shaking. My mother rushed over to me. Sarah, honey, breathe. Just breathe. But I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. Emma was pregnant. She was giving David everything I couldn't, and she was throwing it in my face. My own sister was using my infertility as a weapon against me. David saw me collapse. For a moment, our eyes met across the room, and I saw everything in his face. Regret, pain, confusion, anger, and something else. Something that looked almost like longing. He took a step toward me. "Sarah." But Emma grabbed his arm, pulling him back. "Don't. Don't you dare go to her right now. I'm your wife, David. I'm carrying your baby. She made her choice 2 years ago. She left you. She doesn't get to come back now and destroy what we've built." "What we've built?" David pulled his arm away from her again, harder this time. "What we've built is based on lies, Emma. You knew the truth and you kept it from me. You let me fall in love with you while knowing exactly why Sarah left. How am I supposed to trust anything about us now? Because I love you. Because we're married. Because we're having a baby together. David, please, don't let her take you away from me. Don't let her ruin this." The guests were completely silent now, watching this train wreck unfold. Some of them looked horrified. Some looked fascinated. Some were filming on their phones. This wedding had turned into a public execution of every lie we'd all been telling. David ran his hands through his hair, looking like a man who'd just woken up from a nightmare only to find himself in another one. I need time to think. I can't process this right now." "Time to think?" Emma's voice was rising, panicked now. "David, we just got married. We're on our honeymoon tomorrow. I'm pregnant with your child. What is there to think about?" He looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw the moment something changed in his eyes. "I need to know if you ever really loved me, Emma, or if I was just a prize you took from your sister." Emma's face went white. "How can you even ask me that?" "Because you kept her secret. Because you knew the truth and you used it to your advantage. Because everything about us might have been a lie." He turned and walked toward the exit. Emma called after him, her voice breaking. "David! David, please! Don't do this! Don't leave me! Not on our wedding day!" But he kept walking, and as he passed me, he stopped for just a second. Our eyes met again, and he whispered 2 words that broke me all over again. "I'm sorry." Then he was gone. Like this video if your heart is breaking with mine, because this story isn't over yet. The reception dissolved into chaos after David left. Emma collapsed into her chair, sobbing uncontrollably. My mother was trying to comfort her while simultaneously shooting me looks that could kill. Guests were gathering their things, whispering to each other, pulling out their phones. This wedding would be the talk of the family for years. I sat there numb, watching it all fall apart. I'd done this. I'd destroyed Emma's wedding. I'd exposed every secret. I'd burned everything to the ground. And I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel relieved. I just felt empty. My father came over and put his hand on my shoulder. "Sarah, I think you should go home now." I nodded. I stood up on shaking legs, grabbed my purse, and walked out of that country club without looking back. Behind me, I could hear Emma screaming my name, cursing me, calling me every terrible thing she could think of. I deserved all of it. Maybe I was a monster after all. I drove home in a daze. When I got to my apartment, I collapsed on my couch and just stared at the ceiling for hours. My phone was blowing up with messages. Some from family members calling me cruel and selfish. Some from old friends who'd heard what happened and didn't know what to say. And one from David. "Can we talk? Please, I need to understand." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back, "Yes, tomorrow. Coffee shop on 5th Street, 10 a.m. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay in bed, replaying everything. The look on David's face when I told the truth. The devastation in Emma's voice when he walked away. The moment she announced her pregnancy, and I felt my heart shatter all over again. The next morning, I showed up at the coffee shop 15 minutes early. David was already there, sitting in the back corner, looking like he hadn't slept either. His tuxedo from yesterday was replaced with jeans and a wrinkled t-shirt. His eyes were red and swollen. I sat down across from him. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, he broke the silence. "Why didn't you tell me the truth, Sarah? Why did you let me believe you didn't love me anymore? Because you would have stayed, and you would have resented me eventually. I couldn't do that to you, David. I couldn't trap you in a childless marriage when being a father was all you ever wanted. That wasn't your decision to make. His voice was quiet but firm. You took away my choice. You decided what was best for me without giving me a say. That's not love, Sarah. That's control disguised as sacrifice. His words hit me hard because they were true. I'd been so focused on protecting him that I never considered what he actually wanted. I never gave him the chance to choose me anyway. You're right, I whispered. I was wrong. I should have been honest with you. I should have trusted you enough to let you make your own decision. I'm sorry, David. I'm so sorry. He nodded slowly, tears running down his face. I'm sorry too. I'm sorry I wasn't someone you felt safe enough to tell the truth to. I'm sorry you felt like you had to carry that alone. We sat there crying together, mourning everything we'd lost. The marriage, the trust, the future we'd planned, all of it gone because of lies and pride and fear. What are you going to do about Emma? I finally asked. About the baby? He wiped his eyes. I don't know. She's my wife. She's carrying my child. But I don't know if I can trust her anymore. She knew the truth and she kept it from me. She used your pain to get close to me. How do I build a life with someone who would do that? The baby didn't do anything wrong, David. Whatever happens between you and Emma, that child deserves a father. I know, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be there for my kid. But Emma and we have a lot to figure out. He stood up to leave, then stopped and looked back at me. For what it's worth, Sarah, I would have chosen you, even knowing about the infertility. Even knowing we might never have biological children. I would have chosen you every single time. I wish you'd believed that. Then he walked out, leaving me alone in that coffee shop with tears streaming down my face. That was 6 months ago. David and Emma are still married, but barely. They're in counseling, trying to work through the betrayal and lies. Emma had a baby girl 3 months ago. David sends me pictures sometimes. She has his eyes. My family doesn't talk to me much anymore. Emma won't speak to me at all. My mother calls occasionally, asking when I'm going to apologize for ruining the wedding. I tell her I'm not sorry for telling the truth, even if the timing was terrible. I started going to therapy, real therapy, where I finally admitted everything. The infertility, the sacrifice, the pain I'd been carrying alone for years. And slowly, very slowly, I'm learning to forgive myself. I'm also learning that love isn't about sacrifice. It's about trust. It's about giving people the chance to choose you, even when you're scared they won't. It's about being brave enough to be honest, even when the truth is painful. I lost David. I lost Emma. I lost the family I'd always dreamed of having. But I found something else. I found my voice. I found my truth. And I found the courage to start building a life that's mine, not built on lies or fear or what other people expect from me. Some nights I still cry for what could have been. But most nights, I sleep peacefully, knowing I'm finally free from the weight of all those secrets. And that's worth something. That's worth everything. Follow this channel for more stories like mine, because sometimes the truth sets you free, even when it destroys everything else first.